Tonight, I just left office, so I thought I should not come here because you're in very capable hands. You're in the hands of our prime ministerial candidate and our presidential candidate. And as they have done over the past several weeks, they have clearly outlined our vision for Guyana. And they have pointed out the failings of this administration. But I thought I'd come here just to join them to focus on a few things. But before I do so, I don't think that any person here tonight needs any reinforcement, any further evidence as to the incompetence of this government and what their incompetence has cost this country. We have marked time for 5 years, and in development terms, that means a lot for the country. We have no vision, we're drifting, even the most elementary of plans are not available now. Granger talks about a lot of strategies, etc. But when it comes down to reality, to getting things done, he's incapable of translating very lofty ideals into practical things that matter to people. Things like jobs, addressing the cost of living, getting low-income housing to people, addressing the crime rate, making sure that people pay less taxes. These are issues that matter to people. How they educate their children and make it affordable for them. What about our children going to University of Guyana? Are there going to be opportunities for them when they emerge out of the university? Will the oil and gas sector benefit our people? These are the germane issues, the important issues of the day. And this administration has failed in a massive way to addressing these practical concerns of people. And also, we don't need any further evidence as to the corruption of this government. The United States of America State Department issued a report, and in that report it said for the first time, government corruption is the primary source of money laundering. Just last year, the Inter-American Development Bank issued a report, and Guyana has taken the #1 spot in the Caribbean for bribery. We have hundreds of millions of dollars missing from many projects, the Durban Park projects. About 10 of their cronies, many of them are people of Indian origin. So this is not about race, this is about a corrupt cabal. But many of them of Indian origin got $40 billion worth of contracts, many who did not even tender or violated the procurement laws of our country. And they're enjoying this sweet whilst the entire country drifts. Many, many acts of corruption are committed every single day. Look at what happened just a few weeks ago. In fact, in December, over 80 contracts were illegally approved by this government, although the fiscal year was coming to an end at December 31st. Many of those contracts were signed in 2020. Two of them alone, one to BK and another one to another crony. The two of them alone will cost the taxpayers $1.3 billion. And there are 80 of them. 80, we don't know the total cost to the Treasury. So this is illegal. Even now, as we're speaking, they're committing these illegalities. Imagine when a new government comes into office and would have to spend now maybe tens of billions of dollars in paying for contracts that they have issued illegally up to December of this year. 80 of those contracts. And these are to their friends, etc. The one to beat Brian Tiwari was for $827 million for a school signed on the 2nd of January this year, a school at Yarrow Cabra. That school will not cost more than $400 million. But they got a contract now that is illegal. And we're going to reverse a lot of these things. The land that they closed, the sugar estates here in Region 4, those lands should be available for housing for people in Region 4 and other regions. This government has not developed a single new house lot, but we heard that the lands were already given out to companies from Trinidad and Tobago and many of their big cronies. So all the lands are practically gone at Ogle, etc. And we opened the newspapers today and we saw that another Trinidadian company is going to build a Marriott just next to the Exxon headquarters at Ogle. So that means Guyanese are not going to benefit from much of these things. And trust me, that is, I'm convinced, an illegal project, because Nigel Hughes, the same person who was fingered in the Global Witness report, saying that there was a conflict of interest between Nigel Hughes and Trotman. He is also, I gather, the lawyer for that company. So every single day, we've seen the large-scale acts of corruption. So tonight, I don't need to bring forward the evidence of this. Any government that will sign a deal, a hidden deal for the oil and gas sector, that gave up 55 billion US dollars. That's 55 billion years, 55 billion dollars, US dollars, is equivalent to 55 years of taxes in the future. Because last year rather, we collected 226 billion Guyana dollars of total taxes. That's about 1 billion US dollars. So they've given up 55 years of taxes, all the taxes that Guyanese pay. Each of us will lose about 15 million Guyana dollars because of that bad negotiation. And Granger is silent on that. Granger is silent when the 900 bauxite workers are going to lose their job. He's silent when 300 people were laid off at Troy Resources. He's silent when 500 were laid off at Barama. This is a ceremonial president, a president who does nothing, hears nothing, says nothing except mount the platform and talk in general terms. We can't afford that any longer in this country, because if that happens, all of us, every single Guyanese, will suffer the consequences. And this has nothing to do with which party you voted for or which party you're voting for. All Guyanese will lose. So you don't need further evidence of their incompetence, of their corruption, of their inability to lay out a vision for the future. And you don't need any evidence about our competence, our achievement, because they stare the country in its face. In spite of the fact that our hands were tied behind our backs when we got into office, where debt servicing took up 153% of revenue, we moved our country forward. We built houses, we built schools, hospitals, roads. We started building money, rebuilding our reserves, accumulating money for the future, and we did it without oil. So our ability to change Guyana for all of our people is clearly demonstrated. And you have seen our manifesto, and you've seen the very specific plans for the future. In each sector, we have laid out not just a broad vision, but specific plans that deal with the reversal of taxation, getting more disposable income to people, generating more jobs, addressing education, etc. But tonight, I don't want to talk about that. I came here to talk about the rumors. As we get closer and they get more desperate, because we're 3 weeks away from a change of government. We're 3 weeks away from that. And they are panicked. They're panicked. They're moving people all around. Right now, they're in Latem, Region 9, and they're sharing out a ton of things, hoping to get people to come to their rally tomorrow, because we had a massive one there. And the people called me, some of the two shows, and I said to them, take everything that you can get from them, because it's taxpayers' money. Take everything. And take their jerseys too. And then when you go back, you know how to vote. So I saw them circulating a little thing about how the PPP plans to spend $100 million in West Coast Berbice for 150 votes. We got to have a lot of money to spend $100 million on 150 votes. In fact, a lot of people have been calling me and saying, how can we vote for the PPP now? These are APNU ministers, etc. Because with that amount of money, nobody would vote for APNU. But it's not true. It's not true. We're not going to pay the people there for vote for us. Because a lot of people are voting for the People's Progressive Party. People who voted for APNU and for AFC in the past, because their lives have changed for the worse. And how are they going to go back to Sophia or South Georgetown or here in Alexander Village or many of your communities and say to people, come with the same old promises again? Who would believe them? Who in their right sense would believe that this administration that neglected all of those communities for the 4.5 years are only going around now with new promises of creating jobs when they have no plan to do so? Who would believe them? And they've seen that, and they know that on the ground that people will reject them. And that is why they're panicked and they're spreading rumors. And they're going to try to divide our people along racial lines again. And we must fight this, because these elections are about Guyana, about progress, about development for all of our people. We cannot allow them to play the last card that they have, which is the race card, because that doesn't help anyone. This party is a party for people of all races, all religions, every gender. And that is why everybody sees us in Guyana as the only national party capable of moving this country forward. So we can't fall prey to that. Now I see again they put out an ad for the joint services, because they know our prison officers, our policemen, our firemen, and our soldiers will be voting on the 21st. So they believe an ad can help to swing people's votes. Like they put out ads on jobs now. But you can't eat the jobs, the ads. You can't eat the ads about employment, etc. You actually need to find employment. But what did Jordan say about the joint services bonus? He said that the PPP used to bribe our policemen and our soldiers and our firemen and the others by giving them a 1-month tax-free bonus. That is how they saw the 1-month bonus. They took that away, but they increased all of their own salaries and their perks. So now they love the policemen again. Granger changed the retirement conditions for the soldiers. He behaves more like a chief of staff because he never became one, rather than the commander-in-chief. But he wants to tell the soldiers how to march, etc. Change the conditions of service. They've interfered politically in the Police Service Commission. They've promoted people who should not be promoted. Many ordinary police have not seen any growth. And now, suddenly, on the 21st, the joint services will vote, and they think they can serve, they can get and add to reverse that neglect. Well, we need to speak. The police and the soldiers need to understand now that the only government that will treat them with respect, restore their bonus, capitalize the services, will be the People's Progressive Party. So when they enter the polling places too, they can't watch the policemen and the soldiers when they put their X next to the box. The last local government elections, I went into Brickdam and I asked about the turnout among the police, and they said to me the turnout was low. And some of the police said quietly to me, "Not again. We are fooled once, but not again." So that should be the cry in the joint services, because they vote before us. They vote before us. Not again. You're not going to fool us once again. So comrades, let us watch out in the last few days for the lies, for the rumors, for trying to stir up violence. You heard Volder Lawrence and the others trying to egg people on to crowd the polling places. These are illegal acts of illegality. The GCOM had to put out a statement saying that to do so would be urging people to commit illegal acts. We have to be vigilant. We have to make sure that they don't succeed in this regard. And I count on all of you to do so, to make sure that we keep our campaign focused on the messages, their failure on our messages. And once again, is there anything? Oh, okay. So once again, this is important for us as we get closer to that day. I know all of you know what you have to do already. That is one of the reasons why you're here. And so we need to make sure that others carry this message too. That's all I came here tonight to say. Don't believe the rumors. Don't be intimidated by anyone on that day. If you have a few thugs who run around the place, because trust me, many people from South Georgetown that voted overwhelmingly in the past, and Sophia and many other communities, they have felt the brunt of the hardships of this administration policy too. And many of them quietly may be sympathetic, but they're worried because of the bullyism, the hiring of a few people to tear down flags, etc. But don't allow the few to intimidate, because the majority of the communities that supported APNU know what we stand for. That we are a party that stands for progress. We are a party that stands for all the people of Guyana. So you have to carry that message. Don't be intimidated. We are going to take this one, but not just for a small group of people, but for all Guyanese. So thank you for coming out here tonight. Thank you.